Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Newmeyer, and I'm here with my co-instructor, Nicole Walton. Nicole,
Hello?
show your coffee mug.
Yep. Hello, students.
Coffee is a part of treatment planning, and if it's not, you should make it so. I actually even have a French press here, for those of you who don't know what a French press is, you're probably now not watching the YouTube, but you're Googling, what is a French press? So here we are. This is going to be about a 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes tops YouTube, and we just like to introduce this course to you. So I want to just tell you that since I came to Regent University now about 5.5 years ago, there's been a desire amongst faculty and students for there to be a class on treatment planning. And some students have asked for it even because their states require it for them to obtain license. And so I know Ohio is one of those. And so actually, before I moved here, I was in Ohio at Ashland Seminary and taught a treatment planning course. So that's why I'm excited to teach this course again. Treatment planning is a lot more than just a document in a chart. And that's what I think Nicole and I hope to communicate to you in this time. Nicole, why don't you go ahead and say hi and a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump into the syllabus.
Sure. Well, I am in Ohio. My background and clinical experience is actually in social work, so I have a master's of social work degree. But currently, I am working on my PhD in the online counselor education and supervision program at Regent. I'm in my second year and working as a TA with Dr. Newmeyer. I'm also just starting my internship. I'm going to be doing outpatient counseling, private practice. And most of my clinical experience is in medical social work, but I've also done crisis work in community mental health and outpatient counseling as well. So,
great, excellent. So here's kind of what we would want to do in the next few minutes is just go through the nuts and bolts of the syllabus. We won't go through it in fine detail, so it's possible you'll have some questions for us. And if questions emerge, I want you to feel free to email us. And when you email both Nicole and myself. And because some questions may be better for her to answer and some might be better for me to answer, but we'll try to answer as quickly as possible. If by email isn't getting it done, we're glad to have a phone conversation or jump on Collaborate or Skype or some other way and communicate with you about the class and the particulars of the class and your I guess how you're going to move through the material. So Nicole, do you have the syllabus so they can see it, right? So what page are we on here?
I have it on page 1 right now.
All right.
And I can...
Good. So just everyone to be aware, there are 5 required collaborates, and those will happen on Thursdays from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the dates are listed there. So the first one is for a couple of weeks, so January 26th. And these are required. Since there's only 5 classes, we really insist that you're there, and part of your grade is you being there and being present and active in that class time. And then, of course, our contact information for Nicole and myself is there. Just a little bit before we go on about treatment planning, just kind of I think a devotion or a spiritual kind of emphasis. Nicole and I were talking yesterday, and I was talking about an old book from the 70s entitled True Spirituality by Francis Schaeffer. And he was a great Christian theologian who really wrote a lot in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s, and was trying to help us understand what had happened in America when it came to our Christianity. You know, we really reached a point in our Christian journey as a country where we went to church on Sunday and then we lived the rest of our lives, and they were very detached. And so Francis Schaeffer was like crying against that and saying, you know, we can't have these separate lives, and that really everything that God has us doing is a part of our spiritual journey. And so whether it's drinking coffee with friends or whether it's taking a treatment planning class or in a Bible study or praying, these are all spiritual pursuits. And outside of what God has told us to set aside, you know, basically sin, this is all part of the journey. And so when I think about treatment planning and the importance of the chart and what the chart represents to the therapeutic process, I think for us to think about this seriously and have a whole course on it is to me a very Christian endeavor, because we've got to get this right. And I think that what you'll come away from this class learning is that the chart is not just this thing that we write a scribble in and then stick in a file cabinet, but it really is an extension of the therapeutic process. And if you put your time into the chart is just, it's almost like it's almost like an extra therapist. It's an extra, like, large piece of therapy being successful. And so our attention at looking at the whole chart, from what happens when the client walks in the door the first day and how we document and what we do to the final note, and all the ethics around good documentation. This is what I think about. And so I think this is a very Christian endeavor for me. Nicole, what would you maybe want to add there? I took everything right.
Well said. No, I agree. I mean, I think we have an ethical responsibility, and I think as Christians, ethics, it's just an important piece. And so we really want to be mindful about how we're handling the responsibility of taking care of the treatment plan. And I agree with everything you said.
I had this problem when I was a doc student too. So my professor when I was teaching a class, he'd say, well, I'll go and I'll say this and then you say that. And so I was all ready to say part B, and then he would invariably say everything I was supposed to say. And then he'd turn the floor over to me and I had a half an hour and he had already said everything. So I'm just doing how I was mentored. So
I'm taking notes for the future.
Hey, class! I hope you can figure out that this should be an exciting class, and that we enjoy life, and that we enjoy laughing. Okay, so I think I'm on. Should we go to page 2 and talk about the required materials?
Yes.
So the required texts, and so there are 3 required texts. Vanna's going to show them to you. Vanna. So the first one is the Sutton text, the Counselor Steps for Progress notes, and we'll be using. That's the one I have on electronically. I don't have a hard copy of that one. Yeah, and then the next one is the Complete Adult Psychotherapy Treatment Planner. I would point out that even though we're using the adult one, there also is a child and adolescent one. We just didn't want to make you buy all of those. But if your niche is in child and adolescent, I would suggest that you maybe consider picking up that one. And then the last one is kind of like a practical book. It's Wigger's Psychotherapy Documentation Primer. And it really just has a lot of like basic practical stuff in it. So I almost think that the first book and the third book are more the practical book, and the other one is more like a resource, the Complete Adult Psychotherapy. It will also serve you well if you have a DSM around and an APA manual, which I'm sure that you do. And it's also good to have a Bible. In some of my classes, I've been requiring reading a devotional book. I'm not doing it for this class because I feel like teaching this online class for the first time, there's enough other moving parts. But I do want you to know that Nicole and I are very serious about our Christian faith and integrating it. So if there are things that you see that we could be talking about from an integration perspective, please do so. There are some additional readings that we have, and so those will be populating to the course probably over the semester, and so not all the additional readings are there. We're also going to have some required YouTubes for you to watch in between our Collaborate sessions. So like this YouTube you're watching now, we found some good YouTubes that people have done on how to write a SOAP note or a note for in the chart. And so we'll have some things for you to be doing in between the Collaborates for sure. Okay, and then I guess as we move to pages 2 and 3, we have a lot of the verbiage that most of you have seen in a lot of our other syllabi, which talks about our counseling program outcomes and objectives for the mental health program, the school, and the marriage and family. And these are just things that state who we are and what we do and align us with KCREP. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about those. And so Do you have anything on any of that, Nicole, or are we just like cruising right on through that?
Cruising right on through. I've landed
Yeah.
on method of evaluating student performance.
Yes, right on through method of evaluating. So you wanna start on this one, and then
Sure.
I'll jump in if I need to.
Sure. So we have 5 different assignments essentially throughout the course. The first way to earn points would be the collaborate attendance and participation. And so, as Dr. Newmeyer was saying, especially with an online course, this is particularly important. It's the way that we are going to be able to connect with you, and we'll be presenting a lot of important information. And so, it's more than just showing up. It's active participation. If we have activities or we really want you to be engaged. And so, we will have 5 collaborates at 4 points each. We all are also going to have 5 discussion boards. The first one, Dr. Newmeyer mentioned in the email announcement, has started for this week. And so those will be different topics, likely aligned with our readings or for that week or what we've been discussing in Collaborate. There will be specific instructions on the email prompt about due dates and potentially word requirements, or how many responses. So make sure you read the instructions on each discussion board post requirement, as they may change from discussion board to discussion board. We also have the midterm and final exams, so those are both worth 20 points. We do not have the exact format for those teased out just yet. Did you want to say something about that, Dr. Newmeyer, about what we're thinking for midterm and final?
For the midterm and the final, right?
Maybe a specific assignment. It may be a multiple choice. We kind of want to see how where we're at with the material and what we think would be the best way to have application of what we're doing, as well as to kind of check in with where you are with the material.
Yeah, I think the goal of midterms and finals of exams should really be to evaluate your learning. And so I don't, what would be easiest for Nicole and I would be just to give some kind of multiple choice true or false exam that's automated, scored, and we don't even have to interact with it. And you could, but that's probably not what we'll end up with. We may end up with some multiple choice and true and false questions for you, but we were thinking a little more creative, like an exam, a midterm, or a final that has maybe you watching a client session and then responding to that client session by answering a series of questions that demonstrate that you can identify how the clinician assessed the client. And then maybe giving you an opportunity, as if you were the clinician, then to write a note up or a treatment plan, and then looking at that. Now, that would be more work for us to grade, but I think it would, again, the goal of a good exam is to measure what you're learning in the course. And so I think that probably is likely a more direction that we would take. But maybe we'll have a hybrid, that and some multiple choice and true and false questions. Not sure yet. We want to really just honor you and come up with something that we think is effective. And so since this is the first time teaching it in this online format, we're going to kind of just be a little bit organic on what that looks like. But we'll keep you apprised, so it won't be a surprise. So as you get to the midterm, we'll tell you some idea of what that's going to look like, I
think. Okay, and then for the group project and presentation, so this will be a summative product that you're going to be grouped together in teams. And really the idea is to kind of apply what you've learned in this class about treatment planning. So, looking at evidence-based treatment strategies, and you will apply them to a specific population. For example, maybe for a child or adolescent that's struggling with anxiety or mood disorders in the elderly, there will be different topics that we will provide, and you'll be grouped together and then be working on putting together the treatment plan, and it'll be a presentation and you'll have a product to turn in as well. We will be putting together the detailed instructions for that and providing them to you with plenty of time to be able to work on that. That's something that's going to be more towards the second half of the semester that we will be focusing on.
I want to just back up and talk about late assignments. So right above that, Nicole, like a couple paragraphs, you'll see late assignments. I want to make sure everyone is clear on that. So it's the instructor's discretion to grade or not grade any assignments submitted. That should be submitted beyond the deadline. That is what it says. Okay. Late assignments, if graded, will be subject to a 10% reduction in overall grade for every day late. For example, if you earned an 80% on an assignment, but it was 1 day late, that would be reduced 10 percentage points down to a 70. If an assignment is 2 days late, it would have been a 60. So I do want everyone to know, but I also want to just underscore, it's the instructor's discretion to grade or not grade an assignment that's submitted beyond the deadline. And so if you're going to take the oh well approach and just turn things in a day late all the time, I might grade some of them, but if I see a pattern of turning things in late, I might just say, this isn't really helpful to you in hitting deadlines, and so I'm going to not grade an assignment. And so that is our discretion. I want to make sure students are aware of that. And then I think, Nicole, on pages 6, the bottom of 6 and 7 is really just kind of the layout of all these assignments and when we're going to be hitting them in their major breaks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so make sure everyone pays attention to when the spring break is. And if you go into the Blackboard, we do have things set up by week with themes. So you know that ethics, assessment, mental health status, treatment planning, spring break, etc. So this is reflected in the Blackboard course too. Have we hit everything? I think we have.
I think so.
All right. Well, folks, thank you. We hope this YouTube's been informative, and please feel free to email us or contact us with any questions. Okay, have a great day.
Thank you.